Hi, Sanjay. Thank you so much for joining us on Blitz Business. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hi, Ashish. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Let's get started. So, Sanjay, first thing first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so born and raised in Australia, obviously Indian background, and I come from a family business background. I'm of Sindhi origin, but my parents, had retail businesses in Australia, and so when I completed my studies in accounting, actually,
Hmm.
I never worked a day in accounting, and my brother and I started what became Australia's largest party supplies and Halloween business chain. And we ran that for 15 years, and we had a successful exit from that business. I went on to do an MBA, work in consulting and commercial real estate and other things. And today I own a health foods business called Wallaby Wellness, which specializes in gluten-free, vegan, keto health foods.
So, how did you got the idea like you want to venture into healthy wellness, sort of segment? What really um, got you into this segment?
Yeah, Ashish, there's a couple of things that I learnt in my journey. I had a few health challenges myself where I needed to adjust my diet. I needed to adjust, my exercise routine, and so I've always been quite a fit and I guess quite health focused person. And what I learnt about business is that it really challenges you. I do want to tell you about this. There's a Harvard article that's called The Corporate Athlete. And it's really insightful for anyone that's watching or listening to go and read. And what it does is it compares the lives of sporting people to high level executives or entrepreneurs. And, if you think about a sports person at the top of their game, I mean, we're talking today where India and South Africa have their cricket final, and you think about the lives of the Indian cricket, the men's cricket team. They train maybe 5 times a week. They have gym sessions, pool sessions, nutritionists, physios, coaches, psychologists, and they have a match on average probably once a week. That is, an international level competitive match. Obviously, with the IPL, maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. So that's their routine and their mindset that needs to prepare to be at 100% once, twice, 3 times a week. In the NBA in the US, it's pretty similar. Premier League soccer is very similar. You think about a business person and you think about their hours. They're putting in, they need to be at 100% 50, 60, 70 hours a week. There's no physio, no dietitian, no personal trainer. Sometimes they're not sleeping well, and so the body really does start to break down. The average athlete is retiring at between 38 to 41 these days. Your average business owner has a career that is more than twice the length of an average athlete. And so this idea that business people and high level executives need to take care of themselves was something that I guess was something I was passionate about, but I lived it myself. And obviously, everyone needs to be healthy, whether you're 8 years old or 80 years old. But when you ask me how I came across it or what made me passionate about it, it was this part of society, this segment of business owners that are often getting overlooked in many ways, and health is another one of those.
That's a very interesting analogy, Sanjay. Never thought in from that lens, right? And it then makes you really think, wow, that really requires attention, focus,
It
and
does.
something to cater to this particular piece, right? So what is so how does someone become good at this? How does someone take care of themselves who is running a business or maybe for other people? Like, so what are you learning, understanding? If you can help us.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty basic. I mean, if you ask your average person how do they get more healthy, it's usually eat better and move better. But within that, as we know, there's so much detail and so much difficulty for some people in actually achieving that. Managing sleep is one of them. Managing your gut health is another one. personally, I'm not a doctor, but what I would say is you've got to find a balance in your business where you're challenging yourself, you're striving for excellence, but then there's a moment where you can switch it off and be with your family, be with your loved ones, have a laugh with your friends. There are times when I haven't been able to do that, and you may be as well, Ashish. I know it's not easy to run a podcast. That stress can be with you 24/7, and that can be highly damaging to your psyche and to your body. So we are seeing, people that are older business people, they're starting to break down, right? If you see people, the level of heart attacks, strokes, things that they have going on is there's no doubt. You go to a heart doctor and he will tell you that a heart attack can be stress related. So managing that stress, being able to switch off. I will say, growing up in Australia, one of the things that Western cultures, I've lived in the US as well. One of the things that Western cultures can do very well is in their lunch break, they'll go and kick a football around. They will go for a long walk, depending on where you live, go for a surf, in the middle of the day. And we think of that as me too, from an Indian background. You're not working, as much. What do you mean you're going, to play basketball in the middle of the day? And we see some tokenism, right? Some of these big tech offices have ping pong tables and sleeping pods. But if you never get the chance to use it, you're only hurting yourself. So it's like anything else. Most of your listeners have achieved something, like whether it be a degree or started a business, and the only way they were able to achieve that is by having an intention, setting a goal, and then doing it. And being more healthy is the same thing. If you prioritize it, it'll happen.
I think that's a very hot topic. And recently, Sanjay, I met someone, one of the other founders from Indian startup ecosystem, and he was telling me his anxiety got so bad. I don't know if he will be listening, but without naming him, his anxiety got so bad. At home, they removed the bell because, and he couldn't like operate the company for 6, 7, 8 months, right? It was so bad and
Wow.
required serious medication, etc. And a
Yeah.
company just which raised double-digit $1 million, right? There are business challenges, but still relatively doing well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we were discussing, right, like what needs to be done, etc. So it's a very hot topic and something needs to be definitely done. So,
And
so yeah.
Ashish, how did he overcome that?
Uh, well, Sanjay, he has been under medication now, still recovering, but not fully. But
Yeah.
yeah, it took a toll on it took a serious toll on.
Yeah. On a bit of a tangent, it's a very tough thing because every expert will tell you that stress is a good thing because it drives you to achieve something.
Yeah.
And most of I'm sure this entrepreneur and most of the ones that and interview, that difficult experience leads to, a very strong individual who can achieve a lot, can run through brick walls, and funders love, people like that. And so there is a kind of carrot at the end of the road, but what's difficult is some people get really hurt along the way, and small, particularly MSMEs or startups. It's a very high stress environment, and there's a lot of chatter these days about startups and private equity and VC funding, but I like to think that a lot of the small businesses, whether it be a family-run business or your average, kind of manufacturer, retailer, they're the social businesses that people talk about, people aspire to. There's no small business that that wastes extra. There's no inefficiencies, right? Whether it be water or money or packaging, and at the same time, they're so entrepreneurial. They're so able to bring in the community. What is some of the best known streets in the world, in India? What are they without individual MSMEs? They build that culture, and That, I think, also fosters a sense of community that some founders are missing, particularly in the online world, when you're in a WeWork, or you're at home, or you're kind of going from meeting to meeting on Zoom, and it's not the same as, I guess, traditional business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, versus if you meet a person in person and versus online, I mean, it's day and night difference in terms of
Day
what
and
you
night.
can how you can connect at different levels.
Correct.
So Sanjay, what are the products and services your company offers now?
Yeah. So we provide a range of around 3,000 SKUs, very targeted to different health and well-being uh, needs of people. We have everything from organic hair color to organic skincare and sun care routine products, gluten-free products, vegan products, keto products. So usually when you land on our site, and we sell on the marketplaces, and we sell on our own site, you'll have a dietary or a health need. You'll type that in, and then you'll get a range of products and information about that. So we basically like to operate in we have a categorization that we call the good for you space. So as long as it has a selling point that is better for you, we will range it. And often it's no sugar, no additives, no preservatives. There's so many different variations these days, and we let people make the choice on what they want to do in their health.
Isn't it challenging to maintain and 3,000 SKUs?
Yeah.
What came to my head first, yeah, no?
It is. It is. I'm not going to lie. That's one of the difficulties. Not in Obviously, there's so much software available. We have a great team that I rely on to help us with inventory management. I think what is difficult is keeping things in stock. So we had castor oil is a very good seller for us, and I think someone did an Instagram video. Yeah, there was one famous blogger that did an Instagram video recently, and we just couldn't get enough stock of castor oil. And so the challenge, as you rightly point out, we want to help people be healthier. We've put it out there. We have availability. Now there's awareness about this product, and our suppliers are 3 months behind on delivering. So those sort of things get challenging. There's a little bit of a fashion, I would say, trend driven purchasing behavior. So we have to try and be on top of that, particularly with social media these days.
So what are the trends, Sanjay? Like, what are people buying right
I'm
now? What
sorry, you cut out there, Ashish.
what are your top two, three products?
Right. So, look, at the moment, we probably have there's a few of them. There would be castor oil mentioned. People are really learning how to use it and finding it quite effective. We sell a ginger powder, which is just ground down ginger, but there seems to be, the awareness around ginger seems to be growing, particularly with the young generation. So we're seeing people using it in different ways, in smoothies, in their coffees. It's not just kind of the ginger tea, ginger chai that they used to get. There's an understanding. Okay, this is anti-inflammatory. My nani used to tell me it's anti-inflammatory. How can I make it taste the way I want? And I'll put it into my protein shake, and things like that. And then the other one would be, we're seeing a big shift to roll-on deodorant. So no sprays, roll-on natural organic deodorants are really growing for us. And I'll tell you a little bit about deodorant in the Australian market. It's one of the fastest growing categories, roll on, as compared to some other categories that we sell. You see that sort of health change is, we're probably a little bit ahead of India in terms of that health and wellness awareness. I used to come here 20 years ago, and Axe and some of these brands were not as large as they are today. And I think we'll see the shift into roll-on deodorant here in this market as well. So there is some more marketing to be done in that space.
And how is your supply chain, Sanjay, sort of established? You're procuring products from within India. These are like, how are you building and delivering these products?
Yeah, from mainly from the US and India. So we import products, we get them private labeled for us. We have our own distribution and warehousing in Australia. One of the things I'm here looking at this time, Ashish, is what we can do to sell in the Indian market, because we do sell globally. We do have sales from Europe and from across Asia, and there's just as much as the Australians are learning about turmeric and ginger and ghee. Ghee's another really big seller at the moment for us. Indians are learning about Manuka honey, and Australia has the world's best sun care products. There's advantages to moving product between borders. We're now looking at selling in this market a little bit more to bring an exciting product range here. But to answer your question, we source globally, but I would say these two markets, the US and India, we pull a lot of product from.
So are you selling in India, or you plan to start the business in India?
We have sold here on marketplaces,
Okay.
and we've done it through a kind of a 3PL situation. We're looking to have a bigger beachhead here and make a larger investment. That's one of the reasons for my trip this time is to help grow that market.
And so your base is in Australia, I assume?
Correct. So currently, what we do is we import products from around the world, India and the US primarily, sell them in the Australian market. Maybe about 24 months ago, we started selling some Australian product in India through the marketplaces. And we've been ironing out some of those challenges. I'm not sure if you know, Ashish, it can be very difficult to import into India. There's a lot of restrictions, and so we were aware of that, and we have kind of just been taking it slow through that process to understand who we want to partner with and the best way to achieve those outcomes, and learning about the Indian market. I mean, this market is changing very rapidly. There's a young group of population here that understands what they want. They're seeing it. They want a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, but they're being marketed to, I think, in a very effective way by some brands, which is very interesting to see. It's good to see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the D2C segment has kicked off immensely. Like
Really?
uh,
Yeah.
these 100 Club Road brands have sprouted and have taken over giants, right? It's a
Yeah.
good segment to win if you're able to crack it and deliver the value. So tell us, Sanjay, let's talk about if someone wants to import product in India, since you are importing. Let's
Yeah.
walk through that process. What are those hurdle challenges uh, you
I
have
have an
faced? If
uncle in
someone wants to
customs.
import,
Look, I would say yes, it is still the sort of market you should partner with someone, with a local. And that's probably true of anywhere. I mean, there are some pretty big Indian brands that we're talking to, we have done work with in the past in their entry into the Australian market, because there's an awareness that a local just understands all the issues, and India is no different to other markets. I mean, it has just has different issues. So
what are
I would
those
say
what are those issues?
those issues can be particularly around customs clearance. So you do have very vague uh, rules and laws and regulations. You're sometimes at the behest of an individual customs inspection officer. So if he doesn't like how your cargo looks, it'll be kept aside for screening. I have a friend in Australia that has products sitting on the ports, and he's been told it'll be 8 months before his containers are clear. Yeah, he's got multiple. He's got about 8 containers sitting there, and that's because they want him to go through. It's not a food product, by the way. It's an agriculture manufacturing equipment. So it's not really risky to anyone here, but there's some of the challenges that you have. So my advice to someone would be try it in small quantities, find a local partner that can actually go and visit wherever they need to go on the ground. That definitely makes a difference. Use a local shipping partner also. You sit in Australia and the logistics broker is used to shipping overseas, maybe to the US, maybe to Europe. But if he's not experienced in shipping to India, you will probably fail in shipping that cargo. Start with a small quantity. Don't try and do too large a quantity so that the cost to you is not so high if anything goes wrong. These would be the main few things to consider.
And
Yeah.
Sanjay, how is your customer acquisition looks like? Because in this space, what I have understood, it's the rates have gone through the roof in terms of your
Yeah.
digital spend, and that
Yeah.
has caused a lot of issues in terms of profitability for many D2C startup, which has also previously come. So how are you acquiring customer through ads, organic referrals? What channel has really worked for you till now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point, Ashish. I always say, like, the way the digital customer acquisition costs have gone, it's almost like you're paying another rent.
Yeah.
Meaning, you might have moved your business from Mumbai to Pune or from Ahmedabad to Baroda in order to save on rent costs, and now you have to give it to Google or YouTube ads or whichever digital strategy you choose. That it's not working, right? You're kind of still paying out money that you don't want to spend. In this category, in the consumer product goods category. Look, we have a mixed strategy. We have a marketplace first strategy. So I mentioned before that in the Amazon space, for example, we would be the largest sellers of health and wellness products on Amazon Australia. And obviously, we try to get our website name everywhere we can on those products, in those packages, coupons, discounts, kind of using a pull strategy with existing clients and customers. At the same time, we have run digital ads. We were, pretty careful about how we did it. So, for example, we do some freshly roasted coffee beans for one of our distributors. Now, that's a highly competitive word or phrase, right? So if you're trying to come up against the large coffee houses and buy digital spend, you've got no chance. Castor oil, organic kind of sunscreen are much cheaper, and so we were very careful around the words that we would buy. But yes, we also have had Google spend. I wouldn't say our social media strategy has been that successful for us. We have grown really through marketplaces, Google spend, and then repeat customers, word of mouth, exceptional customer service. The best thing you can do is when you have that first customer, take care of them so well that they need to tell someone about you. We've found that's far more valuable than trying to bring in this large funnel of customers who not all of them are raging fans anyway. So you really want to turn those buying, paying customers into raving fans.
So how much rent do you pay in Amazon is Australia? What's the percent versus India? I think in India it's 2025. I don't know the latest numbers.
Yeah, it depends on the category. It depends on the country. It depends on individual SKUs, even on the Amazon catalog. It's roughly around 20% in Australia if you are doing the shipping. If Amazon does the shipping, it works out between 40 and 50%.
40 and 50%. Wow.
Shipping is very, very expensive in Australia. That
That's
can be a challenge. Yeah.
and was there a decision, Sanjay, to spread across segments? Because um, I had companies who were just selling, for example, hair oil or hair gel. They are just selling one product,
Right.
and one company just selling kajals. Right? I have met companies just selling kajals. Someone
Right.
just selling honey. They they came on Shark Tank India recently and now doing well, but just one product. So have you ever wondered, or do you plan to narrow down your offerings? Because as you mentioned, right, there is a cost effort in terms of putting the right words, strategy for different segments, etc. Or this strategy you're happy with in terms of across segments, the entire spectrum, because when a customer comes in, then they can upsell, you can upsell more products from different category. Like, what is your experience in terms of this? Because till now I have met mostly single guy products, selling one product and scaling that segment within that.
Yeah, it's a good question, Ashish. I would say that it depends on your background and it depends on the opportunity in front of you. Brand building is a difficult game and getting more competitive every day. Because for the first time in a generation, you have to compete with a 22-year-old girl in her bedroom who knows that she can market to her 200,000 followers an organic sunscreen, and you can't buy that sort of loyalty, right? You have to go and try and get them to buy your product, which is mass manufactured or OEM manufactured. You've got a team of designers or people that have designed it for you. It's not really your product because you're so busy doing other things. So I decided if I didn't have a product that I was so passionate about that I had mixed in my own kitchen or laboratory, I would be competing with people that have. And I don't want to compete with people that are so passionate about it because they will win. Right? They need an outlet to sell it, but they have that level of passion that about cargills and stuff that I won't have. I also think that the buying behavior of the average consumer is still a what we call in brick and mortar retail. It's a big box approach. Since the introductions of the Walmarts and the Targets and the Toys R Us's, you know, and the specialty retailers, the category killers, right? They really drive customers into their stores, onto their websites, where someone says, "I don't want to go anywhere else. I see everything here." And effectively, that's what Amazon is too. They're a mass market category killer where you will find usually every option. We've all experienced they're not always the cheapest, right? You have to be very careful about what you buy from Amazon because it's that 80-20 rule. 20% of products are their 80% of their best sellers, and every product business works that way. My decision was, let's give the market something that has a wide range of product, wider than everyone else. We will showcase these brands that you're talking about and let the customer decide what they want to purchase rather than us, pushing one brand with 15 SKUs or 30 SKUs. So that's been our strategy. We have done our own branded product in the past. We may do it again in the future. But at the moment, we are very focused on offering customers something that is, a wide range of products.
Then coming to the next part of it, so how are you scaling? Have you raised VC capital or coming from balance sheet? What is this?
Yeah, it's completely bootstrapped. I mean, I told you I had a successful exit in the past. Luckily, I didn't need to fund. And the way we've built the business, are able to, we purchased some of our own real estate for the warehouse. We've filled it up with inventory. We did all the web development through our own initial startup investment. And luckily, break even was very quick, and profitability followed soon thereafter. Our balance sheet seems to be funding the growth at the moment. I would only look at outside investment if we needed to really target something that was maybe a lot larger than where we see the business currently heading. For example, if we decided we wanted to also pair our online business with 150 retail stores or something of that nature. So I wouldn't rule it out, but at the moment we're sitting pretty at the moment in terms of our cash and profitability. So I would probably say to some other founders out there, if you don't need to take the cash, own 100% of the business, and you're laughing at the end of the day if you can maintain that.
That's true. That's true. Because I imagine if a VC will be coming in, he will be cutting some categories for sure.
Yes. Yeah. VCs. Yeah. Correct. and they want to see, they want to see a different level of data. There's less, Ashish, we have a real passion for our customers. We can say that we're driven by helping them, making them feel good. We have a 365 days return policy. If you don't like it, we'll refund you for a year. So there's a lot of confidence when they buy with us, and that's why we've grown like this. So you get a VC in who says, "I don't like that," or look at they start looking at the wrong column.
Want this?
Correct. They do, and sometimes that's sustainable, and sometimes it's not actually. And there's no column for customer goodwill, right? You can't measure that. You only feel that as a founder, or when you go on to reviews and people have seen your business and heard good things about it. And it needs to be consistent, just like a good restaurant. You tell your friends it's your favorite restaurant, you go all the time, and then if you go once and it's not good, then you're not maybe you'll give them one more try, but that's it. If they're not good twice, you could have been 100 times before that. You're not going to give them another chance. We view our business and the customer relationship the same way.
And are there any new categories, Sanjay, which is catching your attention in terms of like you're seeing interesting trends and you want to enter the next couple of months or years?
Yeah, there's a couple. I would say that the snacking and beverage categories are the two categories that are really changing the way that people are consuming, health food or looking after themselves. So we're seeing with the new work culture, and you see it here in India as well. And people are working longer hours, office hours. Cooking is harder to do. They're going to the gym more. They're looking after their diet more. So they need something that is a quick meal on the run. And so that healthy snacking category is growing very quickly. You mentioned a lot of the brands that have seen a lot of growth in that area. So I see a lot of potential there globally. And I think there's a lot of potential to take an Indian product overseas. When you look at the overseas market, they are hungry for new tasting products. And really, when you think of the US and you think of all the different brands in the QSR space, the only one that hasn't been done at scale is Indian food, right? You've got Mexican, you've got Chinese, you've got Italian, you've got Lebanese, you've got continental, Thai, but Indian food, whether it's at a full meal level or a snacking category level, which we think is the most interesting food, probably on the planet, has not had maybe the traction and success that it deserves. So I see a real opportunity there in that category. The other one, Ashish, which is highly interesting, is the beverage category. So, in Australia, I've noticed here kombucha is growing. I don't know. Have you tried kombucha?
Oh, yes.
The
Yes.
brewed tea? Yeah. So I can give you some background in Australia where, for years and years, for decades and decades, no one could buy shelf space in the grocery stores off Coca-Cola and Pepsi, for that matter. It was immovable. And the first product to come along and do that in 100 years, where the grocery retailers said, you know what, this product is giving us faster sales volume, larger basket purchases, and triple the margin of our average soft drinks. We're going to put an end cap or two or three of kombucha in our store. And so that's why you saw Coca-Cola, Lion Nathan Beverages, they all acquired kombucha brands in the last 5 years. So there's a healthy drinking category that is going to come with force. And it has already in some markets, but I think in India it will grow quickly. Kombucha is the first of those, but there is kefir, there is seltzers, there is a range of products that will be just a little bit healthier than your favorite soft drink, and a little bit cooler too, right? At the end of the day, it's that Starbucks mentality. You know, they asked Howard Schultz what inspired you to start Starbucks, and he said that he realized that people could pay more for coffee. They might not be able to afford the nice car or the nice jacket, or they might be struggling, but that $5, $6, $7 cup of coffee makes them feel good when they walk around, even though they can go and buy a $2 coffee somewhere. Kombucha and some of these other brands are doing the same thing, where it's a little bit cooler to hold a kombucha bottle than maybe a bottle of Coke or Thumbs Up.
And there is this also couple of companies which I met recently in terms of premix cocktails.
Yes. Yeah,
That's picking up quite a lot.
it is. It is. That's a great category. Premixed cocktails, alcohol-free alcohol. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you seen this? Yeah. So they're predicting a massive growth in the level of people that don't drink, that still want to be social, and it tastes quite good. Lyres, Lyres, is a large brand in that space, have done very well. I think they're out of the UK. There will be a lot of space. If I talk about veganism, so there's a prediction that in the US, it probably will never go past 12 to 15%. Right? No one's saying that 40% of Americans will be vegan, but it's currently at around 3%. So it's got 5x growth if those predictions are correct. And that's very similar in Australia and Canada and a lot of the Western world. Here in India, I'm not sure about the level of uptake of veganism, but it gives you an example. If people are going vegan and then there's a certain segment that are going alcohol free, then these specialties start to become really profitable for brands that can exploit them.
Interesting space, and many interesting and new brands are kicking in and
Yeah.
showcasing the products. So definitely. To wrap it up, Sanjay, one of my favorite questions. So in this your entire journey, now you have been running it, and from your experience, if you were to go back in time and do things differently, what would that be?
I'd probably reach out to Ashish first. Look, that's a great question. That's a great question. If I was to start it all again, what would I do differently? I think that I would be more aware of, it's not easy to change people's habits. So when you might have the world's best product, you have to have the conviction that eventually the rest of the world will see it. And I think, we often hear this with different stories, whether it's the Nike story or the Starbucks story we mentioned, or here in India, some of the brands that we see, whether it's the Mama Earths or the chai wallas, there's a real pursuit of perfection, a pursuit of their business goals, and their desire to give this output to the world that is not often understood or appreciated early in the piece. I often say, business people, we're quite creative. People don't realize that, you walk into an office, you walk into a retail store, it's just an empty building. There's nothing there. What gives life to a store or to even a website for that matter, which is just a bunch of code, is that person and that team's input into that. And those inputs are creative and they're color based. And, we used to, when we had brick and mortar stores in the party supplies business, we knew what music to play, at what volume, the smells to put into the place. And you see, Abercrombie and Fitch does that really well in their retail stores. So there's a high level of detail and attention paid to the customer and their experience and their journey. And so you've just got to focus on that creativity and focus on what it is that you want to achieve and put out to the world, and then hope. And as the universe or God or whatever you believe in usually does, people will find out, and eventually you'll be the winner and you'll be celebrated. But it does take time. don't get disheartened, like I think a lot of people do when you realize, okay, this is going to be a difficult challenge. I guess I would, if we can, Ashish, I'd love to throw back the question to you, because I do know some podcasters, right? They start off wanting to interview the world's best, and then they get an audience. Their profitability is actually coming by selling t-shirts or mugs or courses, or it's not where they started. And there's this natural journey where they find their strength. So have you found in your own journey, what would your advice be?
I mean, one thing when I started podcast, I was like, if this is something I really enjoyed, so I'll not get keep a commercial angle to it, right? And that has kept me happy, and
Sure.
I'm just doing it from that perspective, because I know when once things get commercial, then the KPIs and everything sort of changes. So
It,
this
yeah.
particular thing which I've kept, I kept the commercial angle little separate and just enjoy it, because ultimately it gets it will become like one of those things you have to get someone, and you have to make certain compromises, certain things. So I mean, I'm keeping it very simple.
Yeah, that's good advice. Keeping it simple is very, very good for business too. We often overthink, particularly in today's day and age. The mobile phone has made us. You constantly feel like you're productive, but actually, you're creating noise sometimes.
That's true. I have installed an app on my phone which stops notification. I paid for an app to stop.
Wow. Yeah, and it's a very worrying, area, the kind of era we're going through. If we have time, Ashish, I'll tell you a quick story. I used to do some consulting work, I mentioned, when I was living in the US with a retail consulting business. And we did a project for the Atlanta Aquarium. Now, for those of you that don't know, Atlanta has one of the US's largest aquariums, right? So you go and visit kids, school excursions and all that sort of thing. So we particularly ran a project in the shark enclosure. They wanted to make it more exciting. And they wanted to make it more exciting where people line up. So there's a long line, so many people until you get to the shark. And they said, you guys are retail experts. What can we put here to beautify the space and maybe drive sales, as an experience? And so we ran an A/B test of this large screen with a shark swimming, and the shark would hit the screen and crack it, like a digital kind of effect. And I was happy from a consulting perspective because it worked, but I was so sad from a human perspective. Sheesh, that screen became more popular than the real shark in the tank next door, right? Particularly with children, they would stand there and just, and wait for the screen to break and crack. And we kind of gamified that screen. And then next door, you've got this kind of, a little bit of algae, a little bit dirty, unless it's feeding time, there's not much going on. There's big sharks just swimming around. And that was an insight to me of, holy shit, this digital screen thing is not just, it's not just us looking at things and seeing a funny cat video forwarding to each other. There's a lot there that the brain, it kind of rewires the brain, and adults are as guilty as children in doing that. So I can completely understand why you bought that app.
And that's crazy. I mean, it sort of reminded me that there is a screen in Tokyo somewhere, right, where it's a 3D. It just comes on, and people are just lining up for that particular angle.
Yes. Yeah. 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 That's how we kind of living our lives. Some people, and it's look, it's given us a lot of advantages, a lot of good things, but will be interesting to see the next little while. I mean, will we go through a complete reverse? Will there be meditation spaces in shopping centers where you have to leave your phone at the front? People enjoy and want to switch off, kind of a digital detox space. It'll be very interesting to see where we end in that regard.
In fact, that is another segment which is picking up tremendously. There are multiple centers around Bangalore, a few companies which came to the podcast, wherein it's a full retreat. You cannot use your cell phones. And
Really? Okay.
people are paying top dollars for like
Yeah.
10 days packages, 7 days. I mean, I think it might be the most profitable venture I have ever seen.
Really?
The numbers,
Yeah.
and
What's it called? I'd love to check it out actually while I'm here.
there are multiple centers. I'll give you some
Sure.
names, and
Yes.
built on beautiful mountains, like 2 hours drive from Bangalore. And these mountains are like, the selling point is they are sitting on these calcium deposit or some sort of, which gives healing energy,
Right, right.
all sorts, and totally self-funded ventures and excellent skill. Like, I'll give you the names, and but yeah, doing excellent.
Same with the sauna, ice bath, steam room. Those centers in Australia have grown a lot, and I know a friend that owns a chain of these, and he actually says to me, he thinks it's because people leave their phone. You cannot take your phone into the ice bath.
Yes, yes.
So a part of it is you don't think you're buying yourself time away from your phone, but actually it's why you enjoy it so much.
And there is a freer version, Sanjay. It's called Vipassana centers, which are across India.
Right,
They don't charge a penny.
right,
It's,
right.
uh, but yeah, those are also there is a waiting list for that.
Wow. Yeah,
Well,
fascinating.
great, awesome. Thanks a ton, Sanjay, for your time. It was such a
Thank
pleasure
you.
talking to you and understand this segment in more detail. Yeah,
Yes, yes, I'm glad. Thank you for the opportunity.
awesome.